Hi guys, welcome back, and this time I got for you something which is a little bit unusual in the sense that, first of all, it's the first time I'm actually reviewing a product from Sonicast, which is a Korean brand. Secondly, it's not often that you see a lot of Korean brands being reviewed. So it was with some excitement that I was able to get my hands on two of their models, the Direm E3 and the Direm Pro Master, which is the paper that I have here in front of me. The difference, obviously, there is a difference. One is the shell. The driver is apparently the same or very similar. The base tuning is again very similar. One has a detachable cable, the other one hasn't got a detachable cable. The detachable cable obviously is the master. Anyway, Sonicast is a company which enjoys a bit of a success in its home country. The Koreans very much protect their own internal production of stuff. So the drivers are made in-house. Everything, they basically do the whole thing inside or in-house, themselves. Very little or no outsourcing, and this conveys a sense of pride, which is very typical to the Korean mentality. As for the two models that I have here, I actually went to the trouble of buying an Radson Ear Studio HE100, which is this IEM here, which, from what I was able to ascertain, is actually made by Sonicast. Sonicast makes this for them, and I would like to, come on, focus. Today would be nice. Hello, there we go. And when you look at the actual HE100, as I'm showing you here, and then you compare it to the Direm E3, you can see that the similarities are quite significant. Okay, they're very, very similar, exactly the same shell, the same kind of cable, same microphone, everything is the same. The only difference that exists is that the Ear Studio, the plug, focus, the plug has got nothing in it, while the plug of the Direm says Direm and it's a metal plug, so there's a little bit of an improvement in quality over there. Anyway, from what I was able to ascertain, as I mentioned, they share a lot of commonality. There is a slight difference in the impedance of the drivers. The HE100 apparently is a 27 ohm driver, while the Direm has an impedance of 23, so there is a small difference there. And also in the measured response, there is a slight difference. They both have what you could consider to be a harmonish kind of a signature. Both of them have, again, a upper mids area which is emphasized, but then it's the balance of that upper mids area with the rest that kind of dictates the overall result. While on the Ear Studio, that upper mids emphasis is very significant when compared to its bass output. Over here, the bass output is a little bit more prominent, and actually when you look at the graphs show a lot of energy in that department in both cases, which doesn't actually translate to when you hear it. But over here, as I was saying, on the E3, because the bass here is a little bit more prominent, and again the upper mids energy is slightly more subdued, the overall balance of those two areas conveys a sound which is more harmonious. And if in the case of the HE100, those that are perhaps a little bit afraid of an overly energetic upper mids presence area would perhaps stay away from here. From this, they'll enjoy way more the playback on the E3. The Direm Pro Master, sorry, forgive me, is sharing a similar driver. Actually, here's the box of the Pro Master. Okay, there you go. Some Korean, which I don't understand, unfortunately. Simple box. Inside was just the earphones, and the tips. The cable and the tips came separately. The box of the E3 again, simple. Inside, earphone and some tips once more. So simple. Actually, the tips of the Pro are here. Let's see. Okay. Packaging in that aspect is very simple. They didn't really spend too much attention on that detail. I guess they gave just what it's basically needed. In terms of the price, I know that the E3 is around the $40 mark. The Pro, I wasn't able to confirm, actually, to be honest, because I've seen varied prices. So I'll leave the link to Sonicast, and then those of you that maybe might be interested, you can just contact them directly and see what and confirm the final price from them. But I've seen anywhere between, just for the sake of saying, I've seen prices ranging from $75 to $100. The sound of the two of them is very similar, and since it is very similar in its basis, I would say 90% of the time, I will focus more on actually talking about the Pro. On the other hand, as well, I believe the Pro is the one that makes the most sense, because, as I said, this is $40. Fixed cable, $40. A bullet styled fit, which can be problematic for some, and a market which is inundated with IEMs at that price range, which offer perhaps a little bit more. It's going to be a hard one to justify buying this one. Maybe in the local market it can be more justified, but overseas this is going to be a tough sell. This is going to be it's not going to be an easy sell. That's just my opinion, and I would like this thing to focus a little bit. Come on, focus. No, don't feel like it. Okay, fine. So I'm gonna focus on talking about the Pro Master, because I think that's the one that also might be of more interest to the majority of you guys. As for the Pro Master, it brings this cable, which is the cable. It doesn't look like much, to be honest. It's true, it doesn't. Has a 3.5mm plug, metal, MMCX connector. So the cable itself doesn't tangle or anything, but I guess they could have done a little bit better there. And the reality is they do offer a better cable. They offer these cables, okay, there you go, which are modular, as you can see, and I'm guessing that would probably make an overall more I'm not going to say better sound, but a more make more sense in terms of the final offering. But it is what it is. This is what we have. The Pro Master comes with this cable. What I liked about it was the shell. The shell is probably one of the nicest fitting shells I have encountered in a long time. One other IEM that I reviewed recently, which had a shell which was somewhat similar and also yielded an unbelievably high amount of comfort, was the NF Audio RA10. It's a micro driver, a 6mm. In this particular case, this is an 8mm, both here and on the Direm E3. It's an 8mm driver, as I said earlier, manufactured in-house. And it's a very high quality driver, and you notice that quality when you're actually hearing it. Fair enough, granted. The tuning obviously is an important factor, and you can have, let's say, more basic drivers, more simple quality drivers sound absolutely amazing because the tuning has been done properly. But in this case, Sonicast hasn't played around. They know what they're doing in terms of the tuning. Okay, it's now a question of whether or not you like this kind of harmonish signature with a bright emphasis on the mids or not. So they know what they're doing, and then actually when you go through this little brochure, you can see that they definitely are not playing around when it comes to having the necessary equipment to properly tune, measure everything. That's a little bit of an exploded view there of the driver itself. Again, my apologies, I don't understand Korean. But the driver, from what I was able to understand, is got a composite diaphragm, which is coupled to quite an effective magnetic system, which together have put together a performance that is quite impressive for an 8mm driver of this size. As I was saying, fit is absolutely perfect. I mean, the ergonomic design of how it just, I mean, you really have to try this out. You really need to actually experience at least the fit of these IEMs, because it is something else. They completely disappeared in my ears. Easy to, if you wanted to sleep with them, I guess you could sleep with them. It wouldn't be an issue, wouldn't cause any comfort issues. And yeah, that's basically it. So comfort, fit, isolation, top marks. The accessories could have been a little bit more, but I'm guessing obviously you do have access to a better line of cables from them if you want, or then you can just use your own. That won't be an issue. So let's talk about what we want to talk, which is sound. What does it sound like? What is it capable of? As I mentioned, they all have be it the HE100, be it the E3, the Direm E3, or be it the Master. And for the sake of continuing now this conversation, I'm actually going to just take these two away out of here so they don't continue to bother us, let's put it that way. They all have a harmonish signature. A sub-bass focus with a nice smooth transition into the mid-bass, nicely controlled. Everything is very clean, very textured, very melodic. If there's one thing that does jump to straight away, or one of the two characteristics that jumps straight away at you, is how very musically correct this IEM sounds. It's got a very nice tonality, very nice timbre. And as I mentioned, although graphically you might think, oh wow, it's going to have a ton of bass, it's going to sound, no, nothing. It sounds absolutely flawless. And you can see definitely from the HE100 that maybe for some would be overly bright in the upper mids and could lead to some fatigue. You pass on to the E3, and the E3 is more polished. There's that little extra amount of bass that's needed, and just a slight little bit less of upper mid emphasis, and the whole package just comes together in a completely different manner. It just sounds sweeter, period. And the same thing kind of basically happens to the Pro. Although the levels of the bass and the mids are basically maintained the same between the Pro Master and the E3. The same difference that existed between the Ear Studio and the E3 in terms of that nicer, more mature, more polished, more refined sound again happens. There's that little extra amount of more refinement. There's that little extra amount of more finesse. Let's put it that way. Okay. In terms of its high frequency, that is the area that perhaps is maybe for some it will be fine. It doesn't bother me. I think it's absolutely perfect in my opinion. But maybe for some it might be a little bit too relaxed, a little bit too subdued. Since I believe that the main premise of Sonicast was to make an earphone which is very mid-centric. Also, I'm guessing that is perhaps a characteristic that the local market likes, or that the Asian market in general likes, a more capable earphone in the mids, because of the musical genre that's usually heard by many people in that part of the world. So I could be wrong by what I'm saying, but I'm guessing there's just that particular way of tuning, and it doesn't hide that fact. But it's very versatile. I honestly didn't find any music genre that I would say, no, the Pro Master is not being able to reproduce this nicely. There are genres which play more to its favor. For example, I loved listening to some jazz on here. It just sounds so good. Female voices in particular, some of them are absolutely amazing in the way they come across. I mean, let me give you a quick example here of what I'm referring to. Little Bit of Rain by Natalia M. King. Very nice. I mean, seriously, very nicely reproduced. I Love Her in Berlin from Carrie Bremnes. Another song, another female that absolutely does it flawlessly. Bossa Nova from Donati, again, very nice. Music with a lot of instruments, or with mainly just instruments with no vocals, like for example 80s from Bruno Mueller, flawlessly reproduced as well. Absolutely no lack of engagement, no lack of dynamics, nothing. With some EDM, it was fun as well. With some more electronic music, let's say Palm Beach from Castiello was very nice. Although I did find that sometimes, because of the actual nature of that style of music, it kind of especially if you started really cranking up the volume, you kind of felt that it ran out a little bit of steam. But I don't think it was necessarily the earphone that was running out of steam, but it was the recording that was done in such a dynamic and bass heavy fashion that it kind of made the earphone run out of steam, or at least seem like it was running out of steam. One of my favorite songs that I usually listen to, Elephant from Carol Duboc, the Pro Master just played it, flawlessly. Nothing to be said there. Touch the Star from Soul Persona and Princess Frasier, again, beautifully done. Euphoria from Jeff Bradshaw, again, beautifully reproduced. As I said, music which is basically just instrumentals. Music that is properly recorded, let's put it that way as well. So that doesn't have an emphasis on specific parts of the frequency spectrum, and in this case, EDM will be the first culprit. Female voices, all of those come really. The Pro Master is really capable of doing that in a very nice manner. Obviously, being, as I mentioned, a kind of Harman style tuning, you either like it or you don't like it. But the truth is, it's not a Harman styled or Harman signature tune style, which is perhaps, how can I say, overemphasized. Maybe that's not the bestest word I could have found, but I think I'm explaining myself. Sometimes when you listen to an earphone which has been tuned in a specific manner, like a diffused field or something, you might think, okay, this is going to be neutral, and then when you actually hear it, it's way too neutral. Or sometimes you look at the graph and it seems like it's going to be really neutral, and then when you actually listen to it, it's not as neutral as it sounds. For example, a classic case of an earphone somewhat tuned in that manner, although it's not correct to really say it's a fused field, but it has got neutral bass, the HC Sound Heart Mirror. When you actually listen to it, it sounds way more capable in the bass frequencies. Another one, the TKZK Wave, if some of you remember that one. Again, the bass was flat, and when you listen to it, it sounds everything but flat. It's got more than enough guts. The same thing happens here, you know, when you look at the graph and you see such energy in the bass, and then you see such energy as well in the upper mids. You might think to yourself, oh, okay, this maybe is going to be almost V-type in the sound, or overly pronounced, or you know. And no, it's very well balanced. I mean, if there's something that can maybe describe well the ProMaster, is it's a very competently and maturely tuned IM that has, in my opinion, no pretensions of doing nothing more, nothing less than what it was designed to do, in the sense that the whole frequency spectrum comes across in a very nice, balanced manner. Great trend, great timbre, great tonality. Those two features are perfect. And then in terms of its technicalities, it's decently capable. I would say that imaging is very good. I would say that its detailed retrieval is acceptable. I would have liked a little bit more detailed retrieval, although it's not lacking in that department. And I would have liked as well the soundstage to have been just a little bit bigger, a little bit more of that 3D effect. But again, it's not in any way offensive or not capable for what it is. Let's put it that way. Yeah, I think that basically covers it. It's a very nice sounding IM. It's got a very refined sound, and yeah, that's it. It's refined sound. I think that's the best way of putting it. A quick comparison with just 3 IMs that I have here in front of me. C3, okay, 10 hi-fi, HG Sound Pro, HG Sound Heart Mirror Pro, and the 10 hi-fi T4 Plus. Why these? This one has, going back to what I was just saying a few minutes ago. This has got, let's say, a bass style Harman tune. This has got a Harman tune that's slightly darker and a little bit more lush, if that is in a way understandable. The bass just comes across a little bit more warm. And this has another Harman style tune with the same kind of lushness of engagement in the bass frequencies that you find here, but a little bit more brighter sounding than this one. So 3 Harman variations, let's put it that way. Although they will graphically look very similar, when you listen to them, you can, with care, pick up on those differences. The more bass, let's say, segment tune, and then a little bit more warmer on this side, a little bit more brighter on that side. Obviously, you could say, oh well, maybe that's down to the shells. This is resin, this is metal, that's metal. Maybe it's down to the diaphragm material. This is LCP, this is CNT driver, that's also CNT. I don't know. All I do know is what my ears are telling me, and that's what they tell me. How does then the ProMaster compare to these? Well, we're talking roughly $50, we're talking roughly $75, we're talking roughly $100. In terms of price, I would say they're all kind of more or less offering a very good sound, very high quality sound for their respective prices. The biggest difference here that differentiates the price is the accessories package, because in terms of sound, all of these 3 are very capable. The accessories dictate then the differences of roughly $25 between them. So in terms of price, I'm not really going to make a comparison here. What I'm going to make a comparison here is in terms of the sound, because I think that's what makes more sense. The Direm Pro Master is an IM that has a sound pending more towards the side of the C3, so it's not as detailed as what the T4 Plus is. The T4 Plus has more sense of 3D, more sense of detail, micro details come across, there's more twinklies and sparklers there, roughly. Compared to the HC sound, I would say I would prefer the Pro Master. It's not a lot, there's not much, but I would prefer the Pro Master. And it's a difficult one to explain, really, simply because it's my ears, it's my songs, and what I like listening to, and you know, with you it might not necessarily be exactly the same, but there's just something about how very refined, again, I apologize if I'm not finding a better word, it's just so very classy the way the Direm Pro Master plays, that you notice that you are in a product which is of just a little bit better quality, just a little bit extra more of that mojo on here as there is to the HD Sound Pro Heart Mirror Pro. I'm not by that saying that that's not a capable earphone. No, it is a very capable earphone. Some have preferred it over the original HD Sound Heart Mirror, some have not. Look, it's, you know, to each its own. Personally, I kind of prefer this. Compared to the C3, they're very, very similar. Very, very similar. The more balanced one will be this. The Pro Master will be the more balanced one. That one there will have more quantity of bass. So might be more fun, especially with electronic music, and it doesn't run, or doesn't seem to run out of steam, as I got that sensation on the Pro Master. But I'm talking about really, you know, cranking it up and really listen to music which was recorded with a high emphasis on the bass. So, you know, let's be fair as well. 98% of the time, the music that I listened to, there was no lack of steam, let's put it that way, and capability on the Pro Master. It was always there. As compared to the T4 Plus, the T4 Plus, and I mentioned this in my review, I think it's probably, you know, taking aside or putting aside the part of the fit, which could be an issue for some because it's this bullet style, but putting that aside, it's probably the most capable I am at $100 right now in terms of single LED. That crown belonged to the Olina and the Olina SE for a long time. It ended up being kind of the more capable. I personally always liked the Aria as well a lot. I always thought the Aria was extremely well tuned. The FIO JD7 that came out also a couple of months ago, a very, very nice IM. You know, but I think that the T4 Plus has got that little bit that makes it deserve that crown. And compared to the Direm Pro Master, it's not totally a fair comparison, but I have to do it nonetheless, or I'm going to do it nonetheless. And I think the thing that will jump to you, you know, straight away is more detail there, more cleanliness, more twinklies and sparklies, more sense of space. And in the technicalities, definitely the T4 Plus does edge out the Pro Master. There's better soundstage, wider, taller, deeper. Imaging, I probably would end up giving the imaging more times to the Direm Pro Master. Why? Because that emphasis on the upper mids does allow for the imaging to be more pinpoint. So I'll probably give the imaging here timbre and tonality, they both are excellent. There's nothing there. So it will be down to your preference in terms of fit. It will be down to if you think that's got a better accessories offering than this one. Availability obviously is or can be a factor that can affect as well the choice. So I'm going to say about equal here as well. For me, it's a definite upgrade, or definite not upgrade, but a definite IEM, a step or two above the Hard Mirror Pro. It is again a step or two above the C3 as compared to the T4. It's perhaps a step or two below. If I am absolutely forced to give it that sort of a ranking. But anyway, the reality is this, and the truth is this: it all at the end of the day depends on you, on what music you like listening to, what is your your genre, your preferred genre style, and that will be the dictating factor. As always, try and have a listen to the IEMs before you actually buy them. Money doesn't come by easy. You have to work hard to get it. So don't just go and buy any IEM on what I'm telling you. If you can try them out, always please do. I will be way more happy knowing that you actually went to that trouble before seeing that, well, he actually was right. Across, I did buy the IEM that you suggested. I prefer that than to have to hear that somebody just went and bought the IEM because they just blindly believed me, and then they found out that no, I didn't like it. You talk out of your ass, Across. No. Anyway, guys, this has been a little bit of a long review, but as I said, I really wanted to give the ProMaster a proper positioning, a proper a deserved review. It is a very, very nice IEM, very simple in its appearance, very basic, but classy nonetheless, and highly capable. Highly capable. Anyway, guys, as always, like and subscribe. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, you take care. Bye bye.